Welcome, gentlemen. Steve Maeda here, and we are on a Rising Man call, and we have a custody topic, which is pretty important. And I want to talk about this because there's so much advice out there for men going through a divorce, and so much of it is wrong or so fueled by emotional things. And what happens in our groups is we talk to men who are going through real emotional struggles, how to navigate this through the best possible situation. So as I tell you about the situation, I want to tell you about the goal always with any advice I give on this. And if we fail at this, we're failing massively as a group, as myself, as my own mission, and so on, is that we want the best outcome possible for your family. Meaning we want the best outcome possible 5, 10, 15, 20, as many years down the road as possible for the kids that are involved, your relationship to them, and their relationship to their mother. What we hear with a lot of divorced men products is this thing where we dominate and destroy the woman, and how dare, like, she was finally outed as being this narcissistic piece of crap or whatever the hell it is. And that's not what we're trying to promote here. So that being said, I want to break down this situation because this is really tricky and has a lot of stuff, but it mirrors so many people's situations. What do we do when we have a case where the mother has been criminally involved in something with the kids, has lost custody, has been proven by the courts, and can't really be trusted to be a mom that is going to do what's in the best interest for the kids? And I know a lot of guys out there are going like, oh, that's mine. My ex is a narcissist. And that could be true, and that's great. But this involves kidnapping. This involves a lot of crazy stuff, moving the kids to other places, restricting the father's interaction with the children. It happened in some pretty extreme ways, and without getting too detailed, he had to go to court. He got a ruling in his favor. That ruling was appealed by her, and then he had to go back to court to get the actual ruling, which was set in stone, or at least for now, saying that she did kidnap the kids, and it was horrible. And most guys don't have something this extreme. And it was for 1 year, over 1 year, that he did not see his children. And part of the big thing in this is, how do we get to build a relationship with our kids that's healthy with their mother? And so many guys that when they're going through a divorce, for all the emotional reasons that tie into that, they can't talk to the mother. And legally, he's in this place where he can say, you can't talk to your mother. Legally, he can say, like, you kidnapped the kids and kept them from me and did like all this fucked up shit. You tried to, demonize me and say I was abusing you, or whatever the story is, the typical thing. But you did something which is, by law, really bad for the children. You cannot see the kids. He's allowed to say that. And so many men move into this spot where they feel it's okay to do that. And this could be like, you slept with somebody else, or you lied to the children about this, or you abused the kids on this level, or you did this and that. And those things could be true. This is what I see day and night. Man, if we see on like the different divorce dads groups on Facebook, or even my divorce dad group on Divorce Dads Rising, and it usually doesn't last too long there, because we're men working at things. We're men working at being better fathers. And man, I could make that contrast point like pretty big, because when I look at those other groups, they don't have men that are succeeding. You have like groups of men that are angry, yelling, blaming stuff. And I see them progressing their lives in anger, and after 2 years, their lives are not good, and their families are not good, and they have to repair those things. So in this situation, we were like, hey, dude, how do you integrate the mother in this? And already she's trying to do some manipulative stuff, right? But for the sake of your children, how do you integrate this mother who did this highly criminal activity and is not in prison for it? Could have been, right? But how do we integrate that into functionality with our children's lives? All right? And even for you men out there who've had situations like mine where you're accused of abuse and you can't see your kids and you do go to jail, One thing that I can tell you from that, and one thing I could tell you from working with so many men on that, is that you as a father being cut out of that equation is bad. It's not good for the kids. Even though not every, but many of the women who do this and many of the men who've been victim to this, they have to be cut out of those children's lives. That's not good. So we're trying to prevent this in our own situation. So in this situation, what was happening is, he allows communication with the kids. It has some supervision, so the mother can talk to her children. There's some supervision, but in certain instances, she steps over the line. This is why it's so important to be a part of a men's group, because he's like, man, do I just pull the plug on it? Do I bring down the hammer on it? This is me. I have power. I have power to stop communication. She screwed up. The courts, decided in my favor 2 times, and I could stop this immediately by cutting communication. According to the courts, she is dangerous enough to not communicate with the children again, or at least temporarily, right? But we don't want to maintain that. It's better for the kids to maintain communication with her. So how do we solve this? When she's doing certain manipulative things, and I won't talk about the specifics of that, but we need to weigh these things out as a group, and we need to weigh these things out as men. And this is what's so important. See, men are people, when you talk about different archetypes of masculinity and so on, there's strength, there's stability, there's vision, there's all this stuff. And, they're really human qualities, but they tend to be more on the masculine air of things. But how do we do that without overstepping the line and moving into this toxic role where we cause a greater divide? And just by that, you can watch some of the presentations that I have on like divorce and so on. And there's like links that you can follow or whatever, if you're watching this on YouTube, or, subscribe to the channel and yada, yada, yada. But man, when we move into dividing ourselves with men and women, it may seem right now, he could cut her out. He has the legal right to do that. But the trauma that is caused upon the children from that is going to result in how they have relationships, how they trust people, how they, work with other people, how they find jobs, how they define their self-worth. And they've already essentially had enough of that from their mom kidnapping them for a year or some change. And they don't need more of that, right? They need more stability. And that is some really tough stuff. And even if it doesn't turn into, something where they have problems later in life, why would we put our kids in a position where that could be a possibility? So we want to cut those things and minimize those things out. I get it that every man wants to fight and be right and have all of his really awesome stuff there. And here, our group member, he has the green light to be able to do those things. But we want to be able to have strong men with strong families and to be strong grandfathers and to be strong in all of our lives and build that up. And that's very, very important for us to do. So we have to think with some wisdom. All right. And one of the solutions that we came up with this, and again, I don't want to get too specific in the story, but man, we have to navigate and manage her behavior in the right ways without getting to a point where we redline it and cut her off. Very, very, very important. Now, as a man doing that, you got to imagine that is nuts for him. Emotionally, that's hard. That's also hard to be able to come up with the conclusion of that. See, when you're in it, you can't really see the solution. So you got to bounce stuff off other guys and so on. And when you feel like you're lowering yourself again for somebody who may have taken advantage of you and harmed you in these ways, that's another thing. So it's a very difficult thing to do. And it's not easy. And it's not like we can just reframe that and for the next 6 months of the rest of our lives, we're good with this decision, with managing this quote unquote crazy baby mama, but that's what we have to do as men. That is what we have to do. And think about this. Like, so many divorced guys out there are angry and want to, get revenge upon their ex. And man, I hear you, man. I hear you. Totally. Like, we can all relate with that. I'm not even saying that thought is wrong, but I'm saying that you need to manage that thought so it can turn into wisdom, so it can turn into maturity, so it can turn into a great man, so it can turn into your best self, so you could turn into a great leader and role model for your own life and your kids' lives. And man, I'm going to tell you right now, if you mix up masculinity with asserting anger and hate and trash talking and all that sort of stuff towards your ex, or how women are screwed up, or you ruminate so much on what narcissism is and you don't accept responsibility for that, you are not on the road to your best self. You are not on the road to being somebody who can be a great man. You are on the road to wasting your time. You are doing the opposite of masculinity. You are not having wisdom. You are not having strength. You are reacting to the pain that you feel and using surface level traits of masculinity to justify that. And that is the tragedy and trap so many men and women are in this state. And that's what we're trying to prevent. Anyway, guys, if you want to get a part of this discussion, there's so many places to do it, but the place to do it is going to be with the Austin Men's Development Board on Facebook or the Rising Man. The Rising Man is really something which I think all people should sign up for. At the time that I'm recording this, it's $20 a month. It's $20. It's $20 where you can get 3 calls a week and discuss some of this stuff and work and get content and material that helps you navigate through this. When you look at other stuff out there for men's excellence, or let alone divorced men looking for excellence, it's like this rebellion from feminism that it's somehow harmed you. No, man. No. We're men. We don't waste our time with reactive thinking. We do not waste our time with blaming culture. We fix ourselves so that we can lead culture into a new era. And that is what we're doing as men, with the women that are involved in our lives, and with our kids. So let's do that. Check out the links down below, and we'll talk to you guys soon.